Welcome, Summoners of the Rift, League of Legends enthusiasts, to episode number 83 of the Broken by Concept podcast. This is the Season 12 guide. This is what everyone's been waiting for. We literally took a week off just to prepare for this episode.
Yep, that's the reason.
That's the reason. It wasn't because Curtis got the COVID sickness. We do this every year, Curtis, right?
Okay.
And, saying that we've only done it for a year, right? So this is our
This is
second
our
year
second
running.
time.
Our last one, I revisited it and we didn't really talk about much. I think a lot of our philosophies have really solidified a bit more, our understanding, our coaching style.
Yep.
We have a lot of experience since this time last year, I mean, you sort of just started MLA this time last year.
Yep.
So we're going to cover a lot of topics. So sort of give you guys sort of a bit of a rundown. Obviously, there'll be timestamps in the YouTube.
So the intention of this episode is maybe a refresher for some people that are both in the Soloq and the MLA in terms of, how to... It's going to across the board, essentially. Everything. Mindset, everything. So if you're looking to kind of get back into the swing of things, or maybe you come back from a break, or maybe you're starting again, new season, you just want to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, this is the video or the podcast, the episode for you.
This is the episode. This is the ultimate Season 12 guide, we'll call it.
Well, this will be interesting because as well, like you said, we've evolved some of it, or I guess modified some of our takes on some of the older concepts. So this will be interesting.
All right, so let's start off with, we talk a lot about zooming out, bigger picture.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I think the big picture is really important, thinking about the question, why are you playing League? Because guess what? When you get into the middle of the season, you've got a negative win rate, you're switching champions all the time, you hate the game, you're going to be questioning, why am I playing this game? Why did I spend 6 months trying to improve at a rank and I'm literally below where I was at the beginning of last season and I'm just struggling? Like, it's going to get you through the tough times. And then that's something you can even write down, I think. It's like, why are you playing this game in the first place? If you actually don't know why, this is a great time to actually think,
Yeah.
Instead of being like, instead of this, I could have been learning something else.
You could just be playing because you're addicted.
That's right. That's something
Right?
really
Or a
important.
league's an escape. These are things that you want to get out of the way first and address them first before you get, like you said, halfway through the season where shit hits the fan.
And that's the thing. It's going to hit the fan. Shit is going to hit the fan.
It's inevitable.
And I guess the intention of this episode, again, is to build that foundation so then you're able to bounce back and you're able to still have this improvement mindset when shit hits the fan.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and this is going to be your guiding force. At the end of the day, everyone plays League for a different reason. Some people, it's a competitive outlet. They just want a form. Maybe they don't play a sport anymore like they used to when they were younger, and they want a competitive outlet. Maybe they want to play in local competitions and tournaments. Maybe they have work. People have work competitions, college competitions, high school, whatever it might be. Or maybe, they want something just to pursue mastery. They like the pursuit of mastery. They love how complex League is and the pursuit of mastery.
Some people hate being bad at something, so they're like, I just want to be good at this
better
thing.
than their friends.
Better than their friends.
That's completely fine.
What's another one? Yeah, the one there. So maybe you play Soloq because you want to get better for your clash team.
Yeah.
You want to play with your friends.
Yep. Or maybe you have a certain goal. Even having a rank as a goal is fine.
Yep, that's it. That could be it.
If you've set a mission, I really want to get master tier or whatever, that is completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how you get to that. Like the messaging around how you get that master tier rank it needs to be, you got to be very careful. But to say, when we first played, you want to get rank 1, we want to get rank 1. That's
I just
there's
want to
nothing
be the best
wrong
in
with
the
that.
game, yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where you got to start with. Why the hell are you doing this? Because it's not easy. It's an incredibly brutal game and you're going to get beat down. So, have that little conversation with yourself now rather than later.
Talking about now expectations, realistic expectations, but also, you want to aim high, like you don't want to be like, let's say, gold 4, I want to be gold 3 this season. I think we could set it a bit higher, right? So,
well, like I view it in terms of like short term or like a goal that you genuinely believe is doable. And then there's like a North Star, like something that is like inspires you in the long run. I kind of view it in two aspects. But I think this ties into one of the key things I wanted to talk about on this episode, which was belief and believing that you can do something. And I recently released a video on my Midland Academy talking about this, and I will do a YouTube video on this because I think it's that important. So where this all started, Nathan, was I followed this fitness YouTuber And there was two things that came together that made me this click. A fitness YouTuber I watch, he's like a powerlifter and he does very, really heavy weights. And he made this video talking about like his mindset, like how he approaches lifting, like setting new PRs and like lifting really heavy weights. And he sat down and he basically said, like, you have to believe that you can lift this weight. Like, if there's doubt in your mind that you can't lift this weight, you're not going to lift it. It's not going to be possible for you. And when you're overcoming, like doing something incredibly hard, whether it's lifting weights or, you know, or climbing a rank or overcoming any plateau in any endeavor, you have to deep down believe that you can do it. Doesn't mean you're going to do it now on this one session in this 1 month, but at some point along the line, you will get there eventually. And it tied in with another video that I got sent by Kozo in the MLA, done by Tony Robbins. And I sent this to you about how he has like this model and it's like 4 squares. And on the top left, it goes, he talks about what your current beliefs are. So let's just say an example. Let's say you're a Platinum 4 player. And you've been Platinum 4 for years. Like you haven't really tried that hard and your friends have all been Platinum and you've just been plateauing at Platinum for a while.
Or maybe those bursts, you tried really hard, little bursts, but you know, you didn't really
maybe even tried and you still got stuck at Plateau or something like that, right? And over time, your narrative internally is, you know, I just can't get Diamond 4. I'm not a Diamond 4 player. Diamond 4 is impossible for me. You know, you got to be talented. Whatever narratives exist, like getting Diamond 4 it's out of your reach. But from a belief perspective, you can't even visualize yourself being it. You can't even see that. If you try to visualize getting that diamond promotion, like you can't imagine that. And then so what happens, you go into a game, this is going to impact your actions in game. Like when you go into a tough game, you maybe get to your Platinum 1, you're in Plat 1, you're versing some other diamonds on the other team, you're on the OPGG. You're going to start shitting yourself like, oh my God, these are diamond players. I'm just not there. You know, I'm not a diamond player. I can't beat these guys. Like that's going to be the subconscious narrative. Then what's that going to do? That's going to impact your behavior, which is therefore going to impact your results. So you're just not going to play as well. And then it goes
back to the beliefs again.
And then back to the beliefs again. That's further reiterating that you're not a diamond player. So that's where it all starts. If you believe that you can be or will be a Diamond 4 player if you follow like a certain process, you tick all the boxes, you get into the review. That's what this is all about, the BBC mantra.
These are the actions.
These are the actions. It's when you go into that game, that tough game where you got to win against some diamond players, it's not even about, oh my God, I can't beat these guys. Well, let's see what happens. Let's have a crack. And like, I could be there. I might be there yet. I might not. And that's okay. That is a very, very different, I mean, it's going to impact your actions drastically. And I think this ties into, and I see this all the time in the MLA. I work with players. I've done heaps of reviews and they don't get results. And I think what it is that for some people, they just don't think
there's
they
an
can
underlying,
get there. The underlying thing.
Belief.
It's like we're building a house on sand. The foundation isn't there. I can go into the details as much as we want with you. But if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have a growth mindset and believe that you can do it, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And so I feel like I waste my time sometimes. So it's like, you know, it's not about the amount of reviews. It's not even about the details here. It's like, you gotta fix your mindset here. And that's where, you know, surrounding yourself with supportive people, you know, that's where pre-game rituals come into play. That's where process comes into play. That's where, you know, just addressing your stage 3 issues and thinking like just your self-talk, positive affirmation, positive self-talk. Like, are you saying like, I'm just not a diamond player, all this sort of shit? Or are you telling yourself, you know, it's okay, I will get there, just will take some time. You know, there's a lot of things there. So I think for people out there setting expectations, you know, you might not get there now or in the next 6 months, but you have to fundamentally believe that you can. That is very important.
That's where it starts. I mean, if I think about my most successful students, right? So like Ishan, he went from gold to master in a year. Like the conversation, everything. I mean, he was the opposite. He had an ego. He thought that master would be easy if he tried. And then he like was like, okay, I'm missing a lot of steps here. But he always believed he could get there. Yeah. You know, Will going from Diamond 1 to 1.4K LP, like his intention was to be a pro player and he visualized beating everyone. You know?
Visualization's a very powerful tool. It's a very, very powerful
And he believed he could get there. I mean, especially, you know, as a young sort of player, right? You're like, well, what's next? What's possible?
Even if you're delusional, like in a way, I mean, you got to be careful here. And I am going to talk about this and I don't think we touched on it here, but I think there is a line where you can be borderline delusional to your detriment in the sense that you're not in touch with reality. But I think we'll leave that for now. I think that's a subsection of people that I don't think represents the type of people we
The majority,
coach.
yep.
But I will say that even if you have to brainwash yourself, even if it doesn't even make sense, you've never been remotely that high. Like, brainwash yourself. You know, I'll get there. Okay, I will get there. Just that belief, that North Star. Some powerful shit.
All right, so that's expectations. Now talking about things that can go wrong. Let's do a pre-mortem.
Pre-mortem, okay.
So pre-mortem is where we go over everything that could possibly go wrong throughout a season. And this is important because you need to start visualizing, go back to visualizing. If this happens, how will I respond? Your response to certain things that will happen, lost streaks, switching champions all the time, maybe switching roles. You need to have like, this could happen, so you know how to respond to it. Because then once it happens, you're like, oh, okay, I've already thought about this.
I love the word you say there, the way you frame that. It's how you respond. There was a quote, I don't know, I'm gonna butcher it, but it was something like, the type of person you are, or the type of person you become is how you respond to failures and successes. And I think throughout a season, it's not about, I view like there's all this noise. There's all this noise, and then there's like these moments of brilliance or moments where you're shining, you're growing, and then there's moments of failure. And these two big moments where you're killing it and the moments where you're failing, how you respond in both of those scenarios.
Yeah, the winning is also very important.
It's not just a failure, it's when you're winning.
Yep.
How you respond in both of those situations will dictate your overall long-term success as a league player. Well, that's in any endeavor, really, but in league specifically, we're talking here. But when you're winning a lot and everything's going well, sunshine and rainbows, your champ pool's in the meta, you're feeling really high confidence, you've hit, maybe a few of your learning objectives really click together, your schedule in real life is killing it, you've got a lot of time, like your sleep, you're working out, everything's perfect. How you respond to that, you can't just get sloppy with your process then. You can't now just keep playing extra games. You can't get sloppy on your learning objectives. You can't, then inevitably at that point, talking about pre-mortem, you're going to hit a roadblock. How are you going to respond to that roadblock? So do you want to talk more about how you respond to winning first or how you respond to losing?
All right, let's do winning. And we'll start off with the story of my start of my season.
Great. Okay.
So season started. I did have a mindset going into the season. I wanted to play when the season started. I thought I was in the race for rank 1, right? I had a really good preseason. I got 5 accounts to master tier, and I had a lot of confidence, right? Like, I had like 60-70% win rate on Rek'Sai at least, going into the preseason, right? Sorry, into the season. So day starts, our season starts at 4 a.m. on the Friday. I was up at 4:30. I wasn't able to play for the first hour and a half because of certain things outside of my control. And then I started playing. I went 7-3 on my placements. The first day I played 25 games. Okay.
A lot of people right now are listening. They're shaking their heads right now.
Okay. I think I ended like day one, something like 18 and it was like 15-7 or something, right? Or 15. And like I had a really, I had confidence. I'm like, here we go, right? The next day again, bam, I hit Master Tier. I think I'm in like the top 15 people in the world to hit Master Tier. And I was ranked 3 at the time on Oceania, right? So I'm 24.
So confidence is at an all-time
all
high.
Right yeah. I remember you calling me up saying now the season's gone. I said, I'm just fucking killing it, dude.
Yeah.
My map winners, my decision making, everything's just beautiful, right? So yeah, I had a lot of confidence. Yeah, and in those 2 days, I literally played like 40 games, right? 40, 50 games in the span of 48 hours.
Yep.
Which is unbelievable, right?
Yep, you had 50 games in like 2 days, yeah.
And like, so I believed to myself, I was like, okay, I'm actually in the race for rank 1 here, so I can't slow down. Otherwise, because there was other players like Why Not and stuff, they were also playing 15 games, 20 games a day, like 25 games a day and Claire and stuff. So I'm like, well, I got to compete. Like, I want to, be in the race here.
Yeah.
I thought I was in contention.
So this is all in your imagination. This is all just...
Yeah. I seriously believed it. Like, again, I seriously believed. I'm like, I thought I was one of the best players on the server with the way I was playing.
Okay.
And I mean, look at the results were showing. I was 25 and 9 losses, right?
Yep.
And this is playing with like, lots of challenger players and all that sort of stuff as well from the last season, right? So, and then literally I remember queuing up, and I played a game, and it was 100% winnable. And this is when the game I literally would have been ranked 2, just straight up, like outright.
So at this point, you're queuing up and you're thinking about playing for the win, right?
For the win, the LP.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's
like
it.
it's not
Because if I win this game, I'm ranked 2.
Like during
at
the
that
game, you're
point.
probably shitting yourself. Like I need to win this game. Like I can't mess up.
Well, like I still had that confidence, right?
Yeah,
But then,
yeah.
like I literally remember, and I've made this mistake so many fucking times on Rek'Sai. You know, Bard face checks, looks like he's being an idiot. Well, he is, but he can get away with Bard portal.
Yep.
He's like one shot, and then I ult after him as Rek'Sai. He goes through the Bard portal. Bam, I die. We lose our Dragon Soul, lose the game.
Yep.
And then that one situation, I lose a little bit of confidence. Like fuck, because the thing was, I was versing the rank 1 guy, so at that time that game, so that game would have been a huge different swing because I would have been even with rank 1.
Yep.
Like I was at 20 LP, he was at 80 LP. If I won that, I'm at 45, and he's down to 50, 60, right? So like, and then he just skyrocketed, and then he's at 100, and I'm on 10.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You see how that swing,
Yep.
and that just fucked with my head, right? And that's just the LP, just literally just stuck in
thinking
the
about LP,
and then
LP.
the next game happens, and then it's just like and then it was just like a 30% loss, and then the next game happens, like I win, but then like that guy's queuing and he's just winning every game, and then I'm just like fuck, and then I'm slowly just out of the race, and then my confidence is like going, and then bam, I'm back in Diamond 1, and then everyone's overtaking me, and then
your confidence is just dropped
whilst I'm still playing 15 games a day.
Yeah, you're still playing.
Yeah. Right, and I didn't go to the gym at all there. I did no process, nothing like that, because I'm like, fuck. I was so close. Like I was like, because then what I said to myself was, it's like, that's just a road bump. Like I'll get back to it, but like I never really got back to it. And like I'm a week later. I'm basically right now a week later. I'm Master Tier, which is like top 100 on the server, but I'm at the spot I was literally a week ago. And I feel like I'm not been any better at the game because I just focus on the LP. And I was confident. I was focusing on my decision making, everything. And then the moment you start focusing on the LP, you get excited. You will get fucking humbled, man.
Well, this is many lessons, right? This is the process going down the drain. This is focusing on the LP. This is like your actual routine and your schedule went out the window completely. You're comparing yourself to others, not focusing on your own gameplay. This is like everything wrong.
That's right.
And
look at the result. And the funniest thing is like I just see like Curtis. Like Curtis didn't even play for the first couple of days, right?
I didn't play for a week and a half.
Curtis
honestly,
didn't play for the first like 5 days, right? And then he's just chilling, just 3 games a day, just 3 games a day. Everyone's messaging me, like even people at MLA, it's like, what's Curtis doing? Why is he not playing? What's going on? And Curtis is already basically at the same rank I'm currently.
Well,
at
the
right
same
now.
LP. I think I have like 24 games played, and you have
150 or something like that. Yeah.
So you have like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You have like 6 times
my games. Yeah.
7 times.
Yeah.
My games, and we're like the same LP.
Yeah.
And I've just done 3 blocks.
And you're chipping away. Like
away.
the way that I view it, it's like the tortoise and the hare,
Tortoise
right?
and the hare, yeah.
It's like Curtis is the tortoise, just pacing. I'm the hare. I do a sprint, and then I burnt out, right?
Burnt out, yeah.
And that's just what happened.
It's a painful experience, man. And you're like people listen to this right now. I saw it as well. I see it everywhere. People getting hyped up at the start of the season. Trying to get X rank, and they talk about MMR and LP gains. It's all noise.
It's all noise.
It's
The
all
placements,
noise.
it's all fucking
It's not
bullshit.
about how you start. It's about how you finish.
Yeah.
Like the season is a marathon.
It's a marathon,
It's a
not
marathon.
a sprint. That's what I kept saying.
How many times? Okay, and this is the thing, Nathan. And I got to roast you here and hold you accountable.
Absolutely.
You've done this season after season after season, and I show you a season after season after season. You go and you have these like spikes of like you find like you get onto something, whether it's like a meta or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you ride up your confidence, and then you do it in an unsustainable way, and then when shit hits the fan, because you're like building up on like little I imagine like a building that's propped up on like little poles, like, and then you remove the poles and everything just gone, and then you come stumbling down 300-400 LP, and then you're like, fuck, I got to go back on a second account and rebuild my confidence.
Yeah.
Like that should never have to be a thing.
No.
Like you shouldn't have to have a second account to rebuild confidence, you know? So I think that like, people here, I mean, it's good that Nathan exposed it. It's not easy to do, like expose yourself, and people listening here, it can happen to the best of us in a way, because you can just get caught up in your emotions and the hype of like a new season. But we all need to like learn from Nathan. And in a way, you know, you want to learn not just from your own experiences, but from other people's experiences as well. Like that's what to speed up the process of learning, you know. And if this hasn't happened to you yet, and you feel as though you might go down that route, learn from Nathan's mistake.
Done it many a times.
It will happen at some point. You have to stick to the process.
I mean, the crazy thing is the night before, I was preparing myself to go 2-8 in placements. Like I was thinking about how I was going to respond. I was like, okay, just make sure I'm focusing on decision making. Fuck that. It doesn't matter about what rank. Like, if I'm playing great League of Legends, 2-8 literally doesn't matter. You know, like at the end of the day, your rank is your skill level.
Well, what I told people, I got to roast someone in my Midland Academy. I got to roast Stevenator.
Good.
He messaged me and he's like, Curtis, I'm just so bad at the game. He like just says this stuff. He's like, he over dramatizes.
Yeah,
I'm just bad at the game. Yep. I'm playing terrible every game.
Yeah.
All this shit, right?
Yep.
And I asked him, how many games have you played? He says 15. And then and then I'm like, well, you know, what's your process? Like, oh yeah, I just haven't really reviewed any games.
Yep.
It's like, it's so simple.
It's ridiculous.
It's like, it's just like the way I view it is a noise. Like we should talk about noise and signal now, where this kind of ties in. It's like, you know, noise is essentially things that they're not really indicative. It's not indicative of like, it's just not important. Like it's something that you put to the side. Signal is something that you really want to focus on. You think is a trend, a key trend or a key pattern, a pivotal part, like a 20%er that you need to get out of the way. Something you really need to focus on now. At the first, you know, until you have at least 30, 40 games, you're not even going to know what is noise and what is signal. You're actually not... The sample size isn't big enough for you to even remotely determine what you genuinely need to be focusing your attention on. So even, Nathan, we played in a few games. Like, you would come into my Discord and ask me questions. Like, you know, what happened here? What happened here? Like, for me, like... From the outside,
didn't matter.
Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's like, yeah, just noise, just noise. Like, I've played 24 games. I can't even tell what I need to focus on yet. I just need to get more games in. And then I can maybe start to see the patterns and I'll like identify some things and I'll start to hone in on them. But, you know, we need to embrace that not everything is worth focusing on. Not everything is worth focusing on. And I get asked this question all the time, Curtis. How do I distinguish between noise and signal? Well, a very common one is let's just... You know, when you play a 3-block, even then, that's not a big enough two 3-blocks. A week of games, you need to zoom out as much as you possibly can. When you're dying, are there any trends? When you're losing games, what's happening in those games that you're losing? Are there common scenarios where you're feeling uncomfortable? When you're ahead, are you confidently translating your leads, or do you feel as though there's something like a core issue happening? Like, just try and identify the patterns. Step back and try and identify the patterns. That's when you're going to be able to find the things that you need to really focus on first. Get them out of the way. And then later on, once you feel as though you just don't know and you're really confused, that's where coaching comes into play and we can start to get detail oriented. But yeah, I just think people still fundamentally, no matter how much I talk about it, they can't let their they let their emotions dictate their league experience. And you cannot let that happen.
It's not going to end well. And that's what I was. I was just like in an emotional mess, dude. Like I was just thinking, like overthinking everything, you know, after that. And then an example for me, the trends that I found is like, so yeah, like I want to emphasize, like I thought I was in the race for rank 1, but I really wasn't, because I still have some really fucking bad habits that I need to get out of my gameplay, especially when I have like certain game states where I don't have that many options. I will take bad ganks and just show on the map, and they don't look like major mistakes. But there's lots of little things that are happening for the enemy team by me showing on the map.
Right. They're like little details, but they are impactful.
Yeah, I mean, you as a jungler shows on the map as you the mid laner, you're laughing, dude. You know exactly what to do, what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
And the moment I show on the map, I'm losing a lot of pressure. And the best games that I play is like every time I'm showing on the map, someone's dying on the enemy team, you know? And then it's too late. You see me, I'm dead and I got a pressure point.
I want to... Nathan, I want to talk about going back to our initial point, which was pre-mortem.
Yep.
And one of the key quote unquote issues that someone is going to face throughout a season inevitably is champ pool.
Yep. 100%.
And already seeing,
it's already happening.
Right? And like meta shifting, people will say, "Oh, I'm just not feeling this champ anymore. This meta this. It's just, you know, your champ pool. there's going to be times where your champ pool is objectively not going to be the best. And the way I view it is like, okay, let's take a platinum player. Let's say you have 3 champs in your pool as a platinum player. Even in that champ pool of 3, you should still have like there should be at least 2 in there that just are never going to change. Like that's just your core identity of a player. Like let's say you play, Elise Jarvan and like, say Elise Jarvan and I don't know what's Rek'Sai. 2 of those should be your bread and butter no matter what. Like you're going to play them no matter the meta. Because then again, the meta doesn't really mean jack shit until like you get Master Plus anyway. There's that. And yes, the game might be objectively a little harder, but champ mastery matters way more than what the meta is. And no matter what you hear on the internet anywhere else, like you're going to hear it everywhere. The meta this, oh my God, this champ's dead, this item's OP. You got to ignore all that noise and you got to stick to a small champ pool. Now, why I say those 2 is that third one, if it really is that bad and the meta is that well defined, let's say you go into like that chem tank meta, you can actually just then alter that third one to
and
another
just like
one.
Prioritize that like a little bit more in certain times.
And then alter that third one to remove it for another one and then have that third one as like an alternating pick. You can always do that.
So what's an example of a mid lane champ that's popped up at the moment? What's really strong that people are like wanting to switch to?
Well, a lot of people added Victor into their pool.
That's right.
And then they were saying, and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't mind adding Victor, but I warn you, we'll get weaker. Like Victor.
And pro player at the moment, it's Victor gave a Corki every game.
Victor's a lot.
Yeah.
Corki's another one. Corki's popular, but the thing is, Corki objectively just isn't a good solo queue
No,
champion.
he's not. Yeah.
So like, yeah, he's strong right now, but I don't think he will last.
Yeah.
Another one was like Jace, and like, there's a few of these champs that are just kind of just noise, in my opinion. Like, if you want to pick up a champ because you love them, sure, but you be warned, and this is the pre-mortem, they will get weaker.
Yes.
So what's going to happen when they get weaker?
But back to square one again,
back
apparently.
to square one.
Yep.
And so the pre-mortem, the big learning here for you guys listening to this one, is be warned. Your champ will be objectively weak in a given meta. You are going to be tempted to swap your champion pool up. And it's going to be coming from every direction. Friends, YouTube content creators, streamers, bullshit Discord communities, people in game flaming you for picking your champ. It's going to come from every possible angle. You have to stay strong. You have to stay strong. So yeah, I'm not saying you can't alter them.
So what's the exact conversation you need to have with yourself?
Do I genuinely love my champion, or am I playing it because it's just strong right now? That's the question you need to ask yourself.
And loving a champion is so important to put in the work for champ.
Well, I had a guy. I'll give you a horror story. This is dead set.
Yep.
He was a Victor player. I coached him, and he got really, really good at Victor.
Yep.
Climbed all the way, and he played Victor and Akali. Played up to a given rank. Played beautiful League of Legends. Taught him all the fundamentals. And he said to me at D4, Curtis, I just feel like Syndra's broken my concept. Like the champ is just so much better than Victor. This is when Victor maybe wasn't as good anymore. Towards the end of last season, and I want to play Syndra. And she's like, that's it, I'm going to go play Syndra. The champ's is better in high elo games. Plays Syndra, spams like 100 games of it, and he says, Curtis, I lost my confidence in Syndra. I realized I don't genuinely love the champ, and I'm going back to Victor. Boom, you just wasted 120 games. And he says, I'm really embarrassed, but like, I realized that, and I told him, I literally said, and he's like, Curtis, I know you're going to tell me that you're right, and you are right. And I just wasted 2 months of my league season now playing Syndra for no reason. And now I got to go back to Victor. Done. 2 months. Just like that.
Yep. Because you listen to high elo.
Whatever it was.
Really good.
Whatever.
Got to follow the train.
And look where he is. And just all did full circle. Victor came back.
And then he's back to... That's the thing.
It always comes full circle anyway. So that's a big pre-mortem one.
All right, so let's talk about loss streaks, okay? How you're going to respond to a loss streak. Because guess what? There is not a single player in the world in this whole year that will never lose less than 6 games in a row.
Let's loop in this one dirty OPGGs as well. Because people want to make new accounts and you get flame for win rates and shit. Let's loop that one in as well.
Okay,
so loss streaks and bad win rates.
So, again, there's not a single player in the world that is not going to lose 6 games in a row. Would you agree with this?
Yep.
That's like minimum, right?
Yep.
But let's say you 3 blocks, you lose 0-3.
Yeah, over a large sample of games, whether or not that person played bad or not. They will just be unlucky.
That's
to
right.
lose 6
And then sometimes they might play bad as well. All it takes is like one game, a 30% loss, play like shit, one game, 30% loss, play like shit, 30% loss, it's 6 games lost, right?
Yep.
That could easily happen.
Yep, easy.
Happens to me all the time. How are you going to respond to that? What's the exact conversation that you need to have in your head?
Well, number one, was I playing beautiful League of Legends?
Did I know what happened in those games? Does it make sense why I lost those games?
Does it make sense? Can I identify the pivotal moments in those games?
Yep.
Like, if you're a laner, did I know my matchup and did I have my game plan? Was my reference points good? I'd look at all the were my fundamentals good? I would look at my deaths. Why did I die? Why am I dying here? Just like really basic, why am I dying?
Really basic fundamentals.
Could I have said no to this play?
Am I compensating?
Am I compensating? Do I even need to fight these objectives that I'm fighting? Do I even need to fight when I'm fighting? Am I taking full responsibility in my games? Like, could I be calling lane assignments? Could I be calling off objectives? Could I be, pinging people off, ping where the jungler is? Could I be taking more responsibility? Say if you see a negative scenario in the game, go to that moment and say, how could I prevented this from happening? Was there a sign here that could have made me, prevent this from happening? Or is it, or is it just noise? Are there just genuinely unlucky things that, I couldn't have foreseen and that was just the way the cookie was going to crumble, no matter what? These are all things you should be asking yourself. Was I playing the champs in my main pool? Is it the champs that I play? Was I reviewing after every game? Did I have a pre-game process at all? Was my intensity high? These are all great questions.
Was I focused?
And then after those 6 games, what's my recovery process? Did I recover? Do I
take a break in between?
Did I take a break? Did I step away from the computer in between the games? Did I take a day off when I knew I needed to take a day off? These are all
and there's not going to be the same answer for everyone, right? Like, you need to just have intentional thought. It's like, okay, I lost 6 games in a row. What do I do? And then you come back and it's like, okay, well, did it work?
It's okay to be frustrated.
Yeah, that's going to happen. It's
like
sunshine and rainbows. It's like, yeah, 0-3 process, having lots of fun. It's like, I go 0-3, 0-3, and I'm losing like 3 of those games myself. I'm like, what? When I wake the fuck up? Like, what's going on here? This is disgraceful.
I had a 0-3 block that I was really frustrated. But like, I ended the... I remember I said on my Discord, this is quite what I said. Not playing this 4th game took every ounce of my discipline. It took my soul. I feel like it took a part of my soul away to not play that 4th game. Like, it took every... Yeah. Like, I was like an addict, dude. Like, I could feel...
You're slaves to your brain. Your brain is... You are literally taking control of your brain by not playing that game. If you play that game, you'll feel like you're just a monkey.
I could... Every narrative... I came up with trillions of narratives. Play because of this. Play because of this. Play because... It was like every reason.
I haven't played much this season anyway.
Yeah. You have enough energy. You'll be fine. You can squeeze this game in. Yeah. Like, you don't need to read tonight. Like, every possible narrative came up. And I remember fighting it. And I remember staring at the client. I'm like, I really want to play this game, but I know that I shouldn't. Like, deep down, I know it. Because if I'm honest with myself, I know that I shouldn't. And I remember I didn't. And then I cooked dinner, and I'm like, that was a relief. I'm really glad. But I was angry. I remember I was angry for like 3 hours. Yep. I was that angry for 3. Yep. Not like I wasn't punching walls and shit, but I didn't let go. It took me hours to let go. I could barely get to sleep. That's how emotionally attached to my games.
Luckily, you weren't playing.
And I wasn't playing. But imagine that. I'm so intense about the game and my like playing beautiful League of Legends, and it wasn't even because there were hard games. It was that I had 2 losing sides 3 games in a row, right? And it was the reason it was so angry for me is because they had a pro player AD carry every single one of those games, and I had a random AD carry every game. So the bot like difference was really, really large. But the thing that pissed me off is that on the last game, it got to my head and I didn't play well. That affects me negatively more than anything else. When I don't play my best self and I don't express my best self, and I know I could have won that game, that eats me alive. Because it's like, fuck, Curtis, get your shit together. Like, you got to win these games. These are the games that you got to win. Those are the games that you will climb like this. In the grand scheme of things, it makes nothing. It's just one game. But like, That's how intense I was and emotional I was about that game. If I had played that fourth, I would have probably played a fifth. I would have went down that spiral, and I've learned from that mistake, and I didn't play it. And that just goes to show, if I'm angry or still frustrated 3 hours later, imagine what that game would have been. Like, yeah, that fourth game.
Yeah, there's nothing to learn.
There's nothing to learn. Yep. I would have been so emotional. I would have compensated. I would have my jungle tracking would have been abysmal. My threat assessment would have been terrible. Wouldn't have said no to plays. It would have been terrible. And it's hard. And I'm not saying you need to be like an angel, like here, not getting frustrated. We all get frustrated because we're competitive. People here, listeners, we're all competitors. We want to win. There's no shame in wanting to win, but you got to know deep down that the way to win reliably and you just got to be a better player. If you're a better player, you will win more games. And how do we become a better player? We're very process oriented. We get into the details. You take full responsibility. You just follow that process. And there's a really, you remember that documentary we watched? I went to Nathan's on the weekend and we were watching this Tom Brady documentary called, what's it called?
Man in the Arena.
Man in the Arena. And I don't know if it was it on this where there was like the guy who played with Bill Belichick, the coach of the Patriots. He described what it was like playing for the Patriots. And the analogy he used was you're in a tunnel the whole season. And like you're just so just into the details.
Laser focus. Like you're not aware of what's happening around you. And then at the end, you're in the Super Bowl and you win and there's all the confetti. You're out of the tunnel and you see the world.
Yeah. In a way, that's actually what a season should look like of League. It's like you put your head down, you get to work, you focus on playing beautiful League of Legends, being the best player you can. And then when the end of the season arrives, you look up, wow, I'm at X rank. That is what your season should be like. Most people in the MLA, when they get the results, they're actually shocked in a way. It's like it just all comes together. Like out of nowhere, it just comes together. That's what climbing in League is like. It's not linear. It's not like I improve at this, I put this game in, and then I'm going to win. I go from clean plat 4 to plat 3 to plat 2, boom, 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 boom. Diamond 4, yes. You're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go sideways, you're going to plateau, then you're going to go backwards while you're learning new objectives. It's going to be the most non-linear, shitty journey if you keep emphasizing the LP. All ties together, doesn't it? I love that analogy, like the tunnel. That's exactly what it's like.
Dark tunnel is what he said. There's just, you don't even know what's going on in the outside world. You're just so focused on one thing.
So focused on just being a better player. It's not even about if you win, it's how you win as well.
That's the most important.
When we win, when we play, it's like we feel equally disappointed when we play bad and win.
I feel
way more disappointed when I win and play bad.
Yeah, I know what winning League of Legends looks and feels like, and I know what losing League of Legends looks and feels like. If I play losing League of Legends and still win, I'm like, not happy with that one.
It doesn't feel good. It does not feel good. But yeah, those loss streaks are going to happen. Be warned.
All right, let's talk about how people interpret the 30, 30, 40
Wait,
rule.
one. I want to add on to this one, intensity.
Okay.
I had a question today in my Discord. So, Curtis, I struggle with intensity. I play a game, I start, my mind wanders, he says. I can't stay focused. I said to him, is it the norm for you to actually stay 100% focused throughout a game? Is that something that you've done in the past? Is that your level? Or is that your norm to kind of wander off an autopilot? And, he said, that's a good question. He said, yeah, probably not the highest intensity. I said, okay, what's your diet like? What's your sleep like? What's your exercise routine like? I eat 1 meal a day and I'm not exercising at the moment. He said something about his sleep, whatever. Doesn't matter if you're playing League or you're trying to study or you're trying to be high performance in any endeavor. You're trying to go to work, get promoted at work, go above and beyond and excel at any task. If you're operating on 1 meal a day and you don't exercise, get the fuck out. What are you talking about?
There's no reason to complain.
Why would you ever
expect anything?
Expect to be 100% focused in a 40-minute game.
Yeah.
Use your noggin. People shit on League, and this is the thing that aggravates me.
The lack of respect for the game.
The lack of respect for the game. You talk about this all the time, Nathan, but these are people as well that know they're in the MLA, they're in the Soloq, they still disrespect the game. League, and I'm going to say this until the cows go home, League is a brutal game. It is the hardest game in the world. It is so demanding physically, mentally, emotionally. And if you're not coming in 100%, then alter your schedule in a way to try and get 100%. That's why people do 2 blocks. I have heaps of people in the MLA that are professionals outside of League.
Yep.
They don't have time. They have a wife. They have kids.
Yep.
They can only do 2 blocks.
Yep.
Where there's a will, there's a way. But don't go in expecting that you can do the bare minimum and then come into a 35-minute game and focus 100% intensity, use every lull state and think about win cons all the time and execute mechanically. It's just not going to happen. You know?
Like, I feel like if I'm sitting in the chair for a long period of time, I will lose. I feel sluggish. I'll lose intensity. You know, just sitting in my chair for long periods of time. That's why, you know, there's a physical... Like, I just get up and I just walk around. I just pace up and down in between cues, you know? And just, like, listen to some hype video, you know? Because I just feel like, you know, if you sit at your desk for long periods of time, you're going to feel like shit, you know? And that's even with, like, you know, good sleep and everything like that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I've actually got people that in the Discord, you know, and I'm going to roast... I'm not going to say his name, but I want to roast this person and I'll know who they are. That they pretend, they brainwash themselves to think that they don't need a warm-up. Mm-hmm. Like, they'll say to themselves, you know, like, oh, you know, I play basically the same when I warm up, when I don't. Like, where's the benchmark, though? How can you compare it to anything if you've never properly done a warm-up? The premise of a warm-up, it's not just physically, it's mentally. It's getting yourself in the right headspace. Tying back to that video that fitness YouTuber that I spoke about that inspired me, you know, he says, when shit gets hard... Like, what are you going to rely on? Like, when you know, like, you're about to lift some heavyweight, you're trying to do something really, really hard. Well, in the back of your mind, if you know, like, you want to know that you've done all the right things. Like, you want to know that you've ticked every box. You want to know that you've put in the work. So there's no doubt in here. In a way, even if the warm-up isn't, like...
doesn't actually do anything.
Even if it actually doesn't do anything, it's going to help brainwashing yourself thinking that you're in... You know, you've done the work and that you can get the results.
There's consistency.
And you know, I do low dodge game, not just for the physical part, just mental part. Like, I'm just getting sharp. I'm like getting my brain working. Like, I feel like it's the right thing to do. It feels right. Some people, like, I tell people motivational videos and I get laughed at. Dead set. People like say like, Curtis, yeah, that motivational stuff, it doesn't do anything for me. It's like, well, okay, like, then what's the alternative? You want to sit there and, like, jerk off before you play Soloq? Like, what's the alternative?
I mean, if that's what people do consistently, sure, as long as it's consistent.
You know, it's like, but people, you know, they expect insane results, but don't put in the work. You know, if you're playing in Master Plus, you're trying to play Master Plus. We're talking Master Plus here, you know. You're already at the 0.1% or whatever it is. You're going from the top 1,000, whatever it is, the top 500, whatever. Like... You get in, and my dad always said this growing up, you get out what you put in, you know, and find what works for you. If the motivational video doesn't work, okay, what else does? Maybe you want to do a series of stretches. Maybe you like doing push-ups. Maybe you like listening to a certain playlist. Maybe you like to play a mini game. Maybe you like to go and practice tool. Figure it out. Lock in up here. Then play. You know, there's always a way. People always looking for shortcuts, you know?
And people, again, they always think they're above the process.
Everyone thinks they're the exception. That's what it is.
Well, that's what that first couple of days, I thought, oh, I'm just the exception. I'm Nathan Mott. I've done 6,000 jungle reviews. I just know it all. And when the moment it went bad, I had no foundation because I didn't build that. Those games were just all on sand. You know what I mean?
Soloq is the great equalizer in a way. Like, it doesn't, what I love is, like, it doesn't care about your feelings.
No.
It doesn't care about what you've done.
That's right.
It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your name.
About that specific situation in that game at that moment. That's all that matters. And you're either focused, you're going to play mechanically well, or you're going to fuck it up, or you're going to miss some information.
And I had a guy recently who joined the MLA that was talking about, you know, we talk about pain plus reflection equals progress. In the long run, you know, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And he said to me, he says, Curtis, like, I don't know how to register painful experiences. Like, I think being around my friendship group for such a long time, when I make a mistake, they say it's no big deal. And, you know, the first thing I said to him was like, well, in order to, like, switch that up or, like, change that in your mind, go to one of those mistakes and then look at the consequences of your actions. If you actually do that exercise, this goes to everyone out there, and this is a season 12 fundamental. you know, this is why we always talk about the early game is the most important part of the game. The first 10 minutes of the game.
Absolutely.
Most of your game is going to be decided in
Yep.
the first 10 minutes
Yep.
of the game. That's where the most of it is in your control. Look at one of your pivotal mistakes. Fast forward it. Look at what happens. You lose river control. They get dragon. They invade your jungler. They roam bot and kill your bot lane. Something is going to happen. It might not be in that 30 seconds, but it could be in a minute from now. Like, you could have actually had control here. You would have seen that jungler, that fight. You would have got first to that fight, you know, a minute from after that. If you look hard enough, you'll see the painful experience. You'll be able to see the negative outcome of that mistake.
The mid laner, the scaling mid laner was able to get a reset off, get that item that beats you in that next 1v1.
Yep, 100%. Well, now you burnt that flash, and now for that next all in, you don't have flash. You could have got that kill after now. You could have frozen that wave, and if that wave was frozen, you would have got up half a level. You got level 6 first. If you look hard enough and pay attention to the details, it's there. And I think this is another mantra for Season 12. The devil's in the details. I can't stand, and you were good at this, Nathan. You're the one that really inspired me with this one. People are just so general. Like, my teammate lost me the game, or like just some general overarching statement. When, how, what? Like, just get incredibly specific. My champ can't do this. Okay, show me an example here. On this, show me the trade. Show me the moment where exactly it happened. And if you ever find yourself, this is a really cool tip. If you ever find yourself saying something general, there's probably a red flag there.
Yep, I jump into a Discord channel, you know, because like the practice dojo, everyone's like sort of more chilling. It's not a review session, right? And people are like, you know, saying like, oh, this is what happened in this game. And like, I just tune out and I actually get angry. I said, well, fucking get it up and let's literally look at the situation. And guess what? 90% of the time has got nothing to do with what they've said.
The common one is,
you know?
It's like a common one is like, there's something like, you get these general questions like, what happens when I'm playing this champ and I have no win conditions? It's like, you insert a trillion scenarios in there.
Yeah, that would just anger me.
It's like, you can't answer that question. It's like,
I need to get specific. There's nothing I can tell. I don't even answer that question.
Yeah, no,
I
you
will
can't.
not
Show me a clip. Show me specific. And then you look at the clip and then it's like they're already 0-1 into the game, or they had to blow their flash to a gank, or, you know, it's something that's happened before it already.
Okay, I did an exercise with Shern, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting.
Okay.
So, Shern was really struggling the first days. He's in Korea. He's like a, you know, top player.
Yeah.
You know, was Dials with us.
Yep.
You know, he's in Korea at the
Journey.
moment. He's trying to get high on the Korean Soloq ladder. Yep. So, you know, in every game he's playing with Korean pros and stuff. So he had a bad first couple of days of the season, right? I said, all right, Shern, what's going on? Let's go. Let's get into the details.
Yep.
I tell him, okay, I just want to do an exercise with you. Let's bring up the OPGG.
Yep.
I want you to explain to me what your thought, like what happened this game, right? Pointed out that game. We go into it. His default was to blame team. That's his default response. And then he'll go after like, oh, maybe this and this and this.
Yeah.
We got into the game and what he said the reason the game was not the reason at all.
At all, yeah.
Next game, did it again. First response, blame teammate. Got into the game, nothing to do with that. Third, I literally did 5 games.
Insane, yeah.
We literally did 5 games. And again, this is not me telling him at all. I said, what's your thought, bro? So then, okay, now we get into it. And then he's just missing key parts information of the game, like lane states and stuff. And it was so fascinating where you can say, like, this is the narrative you have from this game. And think about the learning there. Imagine there's no learning. If that's what you think was happening in the game. But like my default would be you look at the game and then you have a different paragraph for that game, what actually happened. So his interpretation of the game is completely different from reality. And this is a pro player.
It's at the end of the day, it's just ego protection, really. It's just ego protection.
People are really bad. And this is why I think coaching and stuff is really important. Like, I'm even thinking of getting a coach for myself because I can sometimes will not get
You'll miss things.
I'll miss things.
Yeah. Having someone objectively looking at your gameplay is really, it's so valuable.
It's very valuable.
So valuable.
Especially for, you know, when you were in that hole that 2 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like you would never be able to see.
I couldn't figure it out
until I saw it just objectively, like Curtis.
Because you're just so emotional. It's such an emotional experience.
And you have this narrative where like every fight that I go to in the river and with the crab, I die. And it's like, well, let's break down the fucking details and it makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, 100%.
This is what you're to look for.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's so interesting. And I think one of the themes, my theme of 2022 is curiosity. I think curiosity is such a powerful mindset. Just having a curious mindset. It's like, and I said that story, that Chinese parable where it's like the horse, I think I said it a couple of episodes ago, and, something negative happens and then the person said, oh, maybe so. And then something positive happens. Maybe
it's
this
good.
could be good,
Yep.
could be bad.
Yep.
We don't know. Like when you lose a game or win a game, like you won't really know. You're going to have, I guess, default responses or hunches. But when you're playing a game, you're only seeing the game through one lens, and you've missed many other details. So knowing that I only have one, I guess, view of the game, I would, even if I'm right, I would rather come in from a curious perspective and be like, oh, okay, let's just double check. Let's just double check to make sure my hypothesis is right. Let's double check this, double check that. Just be curious. Like curious. You can't go wrong if you're curious. Like you're never gonna go wrong
Because you're asking questions. You're trying to asking questions and finding answers to them. The most amazing thing. The fact that
the process of doing it. It's not even if you get to the answer. It's the process of trying to find the answer.
Yeah.
Trying to find. That's where the learning is. Trying to find the goddamn answer.
It might be messy getting to that answer, but that's like there's no other alternative. You can't get something if you're not curious.
Yep.
You're not
And the review, the details is the medicine. That's what it is. That's what's going to keep you sane. That's what's going to keep you sane through all the noise, through all the bullshit, all the nonsense. The OPGGs, the win rates, the champ pools, the trolls, the quote unquote trolls and all this shit. It's gonna hold you, it's gonna keep you in. It's the seatbelt, keep you flying out the window. 30-30-40.
Yep. So is it 30 win, 30% games are losses, 30% games are free wins,
Yep.
and 40% in your control? That's what it is, right?
Yep.
So how do people interpret that?
Well, it's more. Well, okay.
to
To quick recap, we'll make it really short, sharp, concise here. Losses are more painful than wins, like more emotionally intense.
Yep.
So we remember and sear losses into our memory more than wins.
Which is why no one would ever talk about the free win they get because someone DC'd, but they'll tell everyone, the player on their team that DC'd.
And you know this for a fact because when you go into a classic Reddit post and they say, I always get trolls. Well, someone somewhere is getting incredibly lucky here. No one. Apparently, that person doesn't exist. No one said I'm
that person's just challenger. He's like
I'm the person on the other team versing the troll.
Yeah.
It's yes. I'm getting all these free wins, guys. Give them all to me. Like no one says that, right? So that person doesn't exist. Apparently, that person may be a bot. Like I don't know who that is. So like you only ever see one side. We only ever emphasize the 30% losses. So I think that yes, we're gonna win a lot. Just random free wins. We're going to lose a lot from random free losses, whatever, auto losses. But you are the consistent factor. And someone actually wrote a Reddit post recently breaking down the numbers. Someone did the numbers again over 1,000 games or whatever it was. I can't remember if it was 100 or 1,000.
It was 100.
100. And it just rings true. And he said that I think the TLDR was essentially there was like two people. So there was one person who didn't care, one troll on either team. One person that was like autofill, and then two people who were arguing against each other, trying to
Two people hated each other.
Two people hated each other, and you're the sole determining factor in a way, like at a very rough level. So at the end of the day, 30-30-40, you don't use it as a tool to help you in an individual game. It's a holistic thing. It's like you won't even be able to know if it's a 30% win or a 30% loss. And again, being curious. Even if you think that it's a 30% win or 30% loss, just don't even begin to label it. Just zoom out and say to yourself, look, could be a 30% loss, could be a 30% win. I'll know in the long run. In the long run, I'll probably be able to zoom out and find out. But or maybe not. What's important is that I'm the one that's not losing the game for my team. I'm not the troll. I'm not the one raging on someone else. I'm not the one making someone play worse. I'm just doing my job, expressing my best self, identifying my role, identifying win conditions, and over time, if you do that enough, over a large sample of games, you will win those 40% games that are on a nice edge, you will win those ones.
You're the difference.
You're the main difference. That is all. So if you know, quick reminder. It's a good little reminder.
All right, I have a story. Give a perspective talking about now games, just sheer number of games played, and the importance of it, and then just sort of put it in perspective. So I have here someone that messaged me. Let me just get it up. I won't talk about his name, but he messaged me saying he had a bit of a problem. He says, "Hey Nathan, I've been struggling with something that I'd like to talk about." So he picked up the game in Season 3 and he did an exercise. He counted the amount of games played in Ranked since Season 3.
Yep.
Okay? So it's around almost 10 years, isn't it?
Roughly, yep.
Season 3, he played 510 Ranked games.
Okay.
Season 4, 93 Ranked games.
Yep.
Season 5, 205 Ranked games. Didn't play for 4 seasons. Season 9, 112 ranked games. Season 10, 281 ranked games. Season 11, 13 ranked games. And I said, okay, so what's your analysis of that? He says, in Season 10, I peaked Gold 4. And he just feels like there's very small amount of accomplishment there. And it brings him shame. Okay? And then I asked this question. So we've all heard the quote, right? I said, how many hours does it take to become an expert at something? What are we all told?
It's like 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
Yeah.
That's the common thing. So I said 10,000 hours. And I said, well, doing the math there, I literally did the specific math. That was 1,214 total games.
Yep.
Let's say average 30 minutes per game.
Yep.
That's 600 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not even remotely close.
Okay. And then I said,
Makes sense. Makes sense about right.
and then I said, so then he said, some games will look at my OPGG and say like, you're bronze for 10 years or whatever. And it says it really hurts him. And Season 10 was his best season so far. So he's gotten better as the years have gone on. And then I said to him, okay, so what if I told you I wanted to be a world-class piano player, right? Let's say that's challenger. A pianist. Yep. And let's say being an expert, let's say after 10,000 hours, you're a challenger or like master tier,
You're like a stage level.
Yeah. And you can go in competitions. You're not the best, but you're going to competitions and stuff, right? And then I said, for 10 years, I practiced 60 hours per year for that. 60 hours. That's what 600 hours is across 10 years.
Yep.
60 hours. That's less than 3 days of total practice.
Yep.
Right? Where would you say I would be in terms of a piano level, skill level, in terms of, would I be world class? So if you're thinking about you're going to be a master tier with that,
yep.
It's ridiculous. I said, he thought I'll be around silver. And I said, no, I'll probably be unranked still, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Probably just be hitting level 30 still,
Well, factoring in also getting worse because you're not, like,
you're taking big breaks. You forget things. Yeah, it's not like a consistent, And then I said, okay, and what happens if I came to my piano teacher, right? Saying, oh, I'm really bad with my progress. Like, I'm not like a competitive piano player. And then he,
I'm disappointed where I am. I can't play for 10 years.
I play for 10 years and I do 60 hours a year. What will the teacher say to you? He'll literally laugh at you and be like, you're not even putting in the hours. There's no consistency. You're not even putting in the hours, you know?
No.
And then he said he considered himself a league veteran. Right?
Whoa, that's scary.
That? How interesting is that?
That's scary. Yeah.
And then he's like, he remembers the good old days of league and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no.
Put that into perspective, right?
Yeah. That's terrifying. Yeah. I mean, it all ties again to just shitting on the game.
Yeah, just no respect for the game.
I like using, I really like using the gym analogy the most because for people that have worked out, like let's say you worked out 7 years ago and you maybe worked out for like 2 years straight. Let's say even if you worked out hard for 2 years straight, but then you took 4 years off.
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Whatever you've done is gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
And league's different because the exercise and the weights don't change.
Stay the same, whereas league changes.
Yeah.
So not only does the game change and everyone else, your performance is relative, right? It's relative. So like gold back then is way worse than gold now, right? So everyone's getting better. If you're not getting better, you're literally getting worse. He's not even getting better. He's obviously getting worse because he's not playing.
So the 700 hours, you could even bring it down. And then he said
Less.
as well, that's not 700 hours of piano. You're changing roles, champions.
And they're probably not even intense games.
No intense games.
Oh,
So
man.
we're talking about you've probably
He's
played
probably got
around
like
100 hours.
100 hours, yeah.
200
hours.
hours.
Not even close.
Of
Which
proper
sounds about right.
games.
That's why he's gold.
Yeah. No, that's good
That's
for
good.
gold.
That's probably good. Yeah,
that's
it's
what I'm
really
saying.
good.
Like, that's really
Probably got a
good.
bit of talent mixed in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he's like feels bad and stuff, it's like,
We said ashamed.
what a disrespect. I literally say you disrespecting the game here.
I mean, it's just
Can you believe that?
delusional. Yeah, borderline delusional.
And he calls himself a league veteran.
How dare you?
You know?
How dare you?
And you know, I actually should do the math. Like, 10,000 hours would be, 20,000 games being an expert. I mean, we'll probably be at 15,000 games probably. We've played probably
I don't know.
10,000. How many
Actually,
games?
good question. I'd love to add them
Yeah.
up one day.
You know? And I'm still learning about the game every goddamn day.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So just, games played, guys.
I
Like,
know, like
it's
a good
important.
mindset is like you're only as good as like your last block. Like that's the mindset. Like you're only as good as your last block. Like you can get challenger. Like I've seen it all the time. You can get challenger in season 7. I've seen challenger season 8, 9 players that are just garbage now comparatively to what they used to be. Like because the game changes.
Yep.
How did they get challenger? It's how you get that as well. It's not if you get that rank. It's how you get that rank. You know, yeah, it's scary. You know, it's scary how easy people think the game is.
Just a lack of respect for the
Lack
game.
of
You're
respect.
either talented or you're not. Apparently, there's no such thing as getting better. The process is pointless. Warm ups are pointless.
Yep.
It's all pointless. Apparently,
Yep.
it's just going to be your
If you
rank
just
that
play,
you're. Yeah.
you'll get. No, okay. I want to add on to this. I made a video recently, Nathan, about LOL Dodge game, right? Because I think it's a really good tool to help improve its warm up. A lot of things. Great video if you're interested in it. And one of my comments, you know, I skim through the comments sometimes and I reply to some of the comments. And one of these comments made me laugh. It said, he said, Curtis, I have a challenger friend. And my challenger friend played it for the first time. I sent him this video. He played it. He played it a few times, got 2,000 on it, which is like a really low score. And then he deemed it to be useless. You don't need it. I never played it and I got challenger, is what he said.
Yep.
What do you think about this? He said. And I couldn't help but just like laugh at how low level thinking this behavior is. And this is the interesting thing about League is that and a very important part of season 12. Everyone climbs a different way. Everyone has a different journey to get where they are. Some people, incredibly fortunate, have great genetics, talented players. They exist in every sport, in every industry, in everything. And other people have to work really, really hard to get where they are comparatively to someone else. Some person can play, 5,000 hours and be still in gold. Another person can play 5,000 hours and be challenger. It's just the way the cookie crumbles based on circumstances.
Yep.
There's many, many things at play. And I made a video on this, understanding your own league journey, And, it's funny because in Challenger, especially now, because the game is still new in a way. I would say it's a new game.
Yep.
Still a new game.
It's like Counter-Strike where it's 25 years,
Even then, it's like compare it to traditional sports that have been around for like
That's
100
right.
years.
100 years, yeah.
Like it's still new. We don't actually understand what it takes, and I'm trying to crack this. This is my goal in the MLA. Is I'm trying to crack the code to get to Challenger, like a formula. I want to figure out the formula. I'm nowhere even close, right? And let's say this guy, his Challenger friend, he could be very well incredibly talented player. He might not even play mechanically demanding champions. He could be a jungler that plays, he's a Zac one trick or something. I mean, who knows? Like he doesn't need to play LoL Dolls game. He's a Zac one trick, or whatever. He's a Warwick player. I don't know. Like at the end of the day, everyone's journey is different. So. Sure, this person might not have to use it. If he did it, he might be slightly better? We don't know because he's never given it a shot. So how would we ever know? Maybe he's at 700 LP and he could be 900 LP. We actually have no idea. So it's so interesting because we look at these high elo players currently where they are. We look at what they do in their current process and we automatically assume because they didn't have to do it or they didn't do 3 blocks, they didn't review their games, whatever it might be, I don't have to. But we never account for talent. You can look at Donald Trump, right, for example, and how didn't his dad give him like $1 million?
Million loan, yeah.
That's $1 million loan. Not everyone has a luxury to have $1 million loan to start a business when they're like 22, right? Some people barely have enough money to pay for their rent and then have to work 3 jobs just to afford rent so they can study on the side. Like my dad and stuff, your parents, like, you can't compare Donald Trump's journey to get rich comparatively to everyone else. Like, everyone starts at a different point, And that doesn't mean that the way Donald Trump did it or the way X person did it is the best way. There is no solved way to get to Challenger. We're just throwing ideas, things that have helped us. Give it a go, see if it helps you. Might not help someone else, but it might help you. And like, it's just the mindset. It's like, everyone is different. So have a crack, have a go, try things, experiment, find what works for you. Because what you'll notice, and it's still with these people that are currently Challenger, they don't last because they don't get Challenger in a sustainable way. There's a handful of players that constantly get Challenger season in, season out due to their process and like not talent. There's a handful of them, barely any. Most players that I know that are Challenger players, they get weeded out at some point. They just they go back to Master Tier and they stay Master Tier for a season or two. They go back to Diamond for a season. It's very rare you get a consistent Challenger player season in, season out, no matter the meta, and actually become a better player.
I mean, even pro players, I mean, they drop off the face of the
They drop off all the time.
Yeah. You find them in Diamond and stuff these days.
So, like, just be open-minded. The reason, though, these are just Nathan and I's take. These are just tips we're giving you that work for us. If they don't work for you, that's okay. Play around with it. Be open-minded. Understand your journey is different to everyone else. That's why you can't compare yourself. Comparing yourself to anyone else doesn't even make sense. Doesn't make sense.
I have a story going back to the curiosity thing because you reminded me because you talked about Halo players, right? So Malice is a super famous jungler for the way he plays the game. Super herbivore, full clear Malice.
Oh, Malice, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's an Eve player, right? And a lot of my Eve Salty people look up to him, right? Yeah, sure. Lots to learn from him, right? And he has this it was Ishan, right? So I talk about him a lot. The gold to master player in the year.
Yep.
He goes like Nathan, I need you to take a look at this game because if I swear to God, if Malice was telling me this, he would say just full clear and ignore your team, right? So okay, so let's just look at a couple of games, right? And let's just in the review process, let's look at some alternative options, okay? So what he did, because what he was struggling with is he saw something that was going to happen, super obvious, right? Like a gank on that side, a dive, like he had a Nasus that was obviously going to get dived. If he's the full clear, they're going to die. But if he does like a 4 camp, like Blue Gromp, Wolves, Red, he's in a position to counter gank.
Maybe get a kill.
Would you agree that's like probably a bigger lead? Like you're helping your teammates, you're shutting them down, you're getting more golden experience, and you can just go back to your camps again.
Yep,
right?
You're on the same side anyway.
And he's seeing his situation, and he's getting a pretty big hit rate in terms of like if he did this, it would have worked. It would have worked. And I said, all right, Ishan, I know that because what he battles with is like if Malice would just be roasting me if I'm ditching my camps because he full clears every game, right? No matter what, just leaves his teammates, whatever, right? And I said, okay, that's fine. And again, he's a world class, one of the best Eve players in the world, right? That's what he does. But how about you just try to do this? And then he did it the next game, and then he just predicted it. Bam, counter gank, double kill, bam, huge lead. Then he goes back to his camps. Like, again, that's a curiosity and a question. And like what I was trying to do in the review process is like, yeah, he does this. But when you see something so obvious, why not ditch your camps? Like that's just the way that I view the game, right? And like Malice is obviously a much better player than me, and like, but it works. But it actually has been working for him, and that's the curiosity you want. It's like, this challenger player does it this way, but what happens if I try this? And again, and that's the thing he was battling with. It's like he knows he could skip camps and win the game, but he just had Malice in his head saying full clear, full clear, full clear.
Right. It's an interesting one, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah, it's how do I frame this one? Well, look, at the end of the day, there's just differing interpretations. Yeah, you're spot on. There's different interpretations of the game, and I would say that, you would if you were unsure, I would try both and see what works.
That's exactly what I said.
Like,
try both.
Results is what matters at the end of the day. Like, you can talk all you want, but if this gets more results, and look, Malice might find that in his games that doesn't happen as often. Maybe like in a higher reload, junglers won't do that dive when they know he's full clear. He's passing top side. Maybe they wouldn't make that play. And Malice has probably had negative experiences with that in the past, where he's wasted time and he knows that they would never dive and they're just wasting his time, or So in a way, maybe Malice, the way he coaches is like he knows that 95% of the time it's not going to work for him.
Yeah.
And so he just does a cookie cutter like statement over the top. And that would actually give people a lot of results, So I could maybe understand where Malice is coming from, giving that advice. So, yeah, I mean, once you start to get to Master Plus, you got to have your own mind. Niall gave me a really nice analogy. He said, so this is kind of his recent breakthrough. So he views, like, I'll use his analogy, even though I don't understand it fully, but it's like mathematics, where you start with, like, when you start out in school in maths, you do like addition and subtraction. And he equated that to be like just the fundamentals of mid lane. Then he says you go to like multiplication and like division. It's a little bit trickier. And that goes to like champ identity, understanding your champ's identity. And then you go to like basic algebra. And that's like understanding your matchups, like starting to get detailed about matchups. And then you go to like a bit like calculus and stuff, and that's he said that's starting to understand
resets,
like win conditions, win conditions, and think about the map holistically a little bit. And then the final step, the fifth one, and which is like what you need to start to focus on, like Master Plus, is like it's like advanced calculus, whatever, is then creativity. And creativity is the final piece of the puzzle, because at Master Tier, everyone knows the fundamentals, or should. Everyone has decent champ identity understanding. Everyone knows their matchups, and everyone really, like, most of the time understands, like, how to win a game, like win conditions. They understand who's strong, like strong side, weak side, that sort of thing. Now, when everyone's on an even playing field, know that, the final factor, in a way, the biggest differentiating factor is creativity. That's where creativity comes into play. So there's differing interpretations of how you win a game and how you kill a Nexus, based off the way you play your champ. And
the adaptation is what's happening in the game, right?
Yeah,
creativity is based on what's happening in the game.
Creativity is based on what happens in the game. You might find a weird roam that you never would have done just based off what you see in that moment. So, or like a weird counter gank.
Here's a weird situation. I had a review the other day where he was like doing some weird path to try and avoid Graves getting invaded, and he was like a little bit of minions off level 4, but Graves was around. I said, take those little small wolves. Don't waste your time getting the big wolf. Get level 4 and then go just give the wolf and go level 4 and go gank bot.
Yeah.
That's such a unique, creative situation, right? I've never ever said that in a review, but it's like, but the fundamentals are there. Get level 4. Don't waste your time trying to fight Graves because he's stronger.
But you can't skip the fundamentals.
No,
like, you got to go through all the 4 stages before that point. Like, you shouldn't even be thinking about creativity. Like, we're talking about that Malice thing again. You shouldn't really be thinking about skipping camps and stuff before you understand, like, your champ's identity, why you're doing what you're doing, how to actually clear your camps.
That's right.
All that shit, and like actually panning your camera. Like, do that first and then get to the creativity. And Niall said, like, he notices a lot of people, they skip all the other steps and they try to be creative and like, but no, just like, as long as you identify the basic win conditions and you've got your champ identity, your matchups and your fundamentals, the rest will kind of like fall into place. That will get you to a good level, And I like that. It's an interesting.
I like that.
It's an interesting way of viewing the game. Yeah. Something I need to kind of think about.
Sounds like Niall's got the formula to challenge a dude.
Well, yeah, he's
got it all down.
He's already Master Tier. Like, it took him ages to get to Master Tier last season. He's already Master. Yeah. Like 100 LP.
Yeah.
So he's on the right track, man. His goals challenger this season.
Great.
Anything on the list?
All right, so we've covered a lot. Understanding improvement, talking about it's not linear.
Yeah, I dabbled that earlier on. It's not going to be like a step-by-step, you play one game, you set this learning objective, you get better at that, and then you get LP. No, like, you have to connect multiple things together sometimes. Like, the analogy I use was like 1 + 1 = 3. Like, it's not, you don't just add this together with this and then you get this result. It can be greater than the sum of the parts because all concepts in League are interconnected. There's no such thing. And in a way, LS put it really nicely in one of his videos. He said, there's no such thing as being a good laner and a bad skirmisher with a lot of champs. If you're a good laner and you understand how to take good quality trades, you understand like baiting out abilities and stuff, that will flow on automatically to skirmishing. It's interconnected automatically because your understanding of the champ's identity is really good. So like concepts like that, right? You wouldn't imagine it to be like that.
I mean, I've had many students in Sol 2. They were stuck at a rank for a while, and then all the fun, and then it just clicks, and then pshh,
Yep.
but that's not even linear. It's like you would see their graph like
Plateau,
plat 4, plat 4,
boom.
plat 4, plat 1.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
And then plat 1, plat 1, plat 1, like D2. I mean, that was like Ishan's journey.
Yeah.
So stuck at a rank. Did we talk about that? Like being stuck for a long period of time, how you're going to respond to that? I guess that ties in a lot of the things we've talked about.
Yeah.
Focusing on getting the details, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered that one.
Self-talk.
Okay.
Language, friendship groups.
Yeah, we should kind of do a bit of a rundown quickly. You are who you surround yourself with, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, if you're with a bunch of friends that... I mean, I had someone in Sol 2 where he said, like, he joined Sol 2 because he wanted to sort of join a more like-minded group of people that want to improve, because none of his friends understand why you would want to get good at League.
Right, yeah.
And, like, they don't view it as a challenge, it's just a game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he realized he needed to disconnect himself, not, like, ditch him as friends, but find another group to sort of, like, help him, feed him the right information, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, if you have that group of friends, like, like, if you join the Discord and you'll start talking about, you're ranked and getting the details, it's going to tune out, It's like, you're not going to work with that. So,
well, you can't if you're playing with a friend as well, and then they die to a level 3 gank, and you say, yeah, like this was kind of end of review here. They'll be like, what are you talking about? They don't get it.
No, they don't get it.
They don't get it. And if you have people around you saying it's okay to die to a level 3 gank, that's going to rub off on you.
Yes, it is.
Over the long run,
Big time.
But yeah, the self talk's a big one. How you talk to yourself, like. I mean, you got to be your biggest fan and your harshest critic and your biggest fan, which is a very difficult balance.
Again, this is why the process is so important, because when you start being like negative stuff, you can always say, well, I'm doing a consistent process that I'm refining. That's the foundation. That's why it's so important.
Or the analogy that I envision during this journey is like one of those ancient Greek or Roman sculptures. And all we're doing is like you start off with a big chunk of like a big chunk
clay,
of like block, like a stone granite marble block.
Yep.
And then, we're just chipping away with a hammer and a chisel. Chip, 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 chip. And the higher you get, we're starting to now see the shape of it. We're smoothing the edges just over time, and then increments. And that actually makes I love that analogy, because it actually makes sense, because when you're starting out, you're going to make a lot of improvement at the start, because you just get these huge chunks out of the way.
Huge chunks, that's right. I like that a lot.
And then you get to shape, you see the basic shape, but then
the smoothing, like the way that I view that is like a platinum player who's really sloppy with their ganks, right? And yeah, you're just like smoothing in that edge. It's just like one fundamental.
Yeah,
but
one area.
You're sitting there. You got to work on it for ages.
Yeah. Well, I view it more. You don't even start smoothing into a master class, honestly. Like I view like
there's still rigid edges.
Yeah, still rigid everywhere in my
Yeah.
opinion. Until like D2. Like,
Yeah, you're
you're still
probably right.
rigid everywhere, and
Yeah.
then like D2 maybe plus like you start to smooth edges. I would say.
I like that. Yeah, I get. Well, that's the phase that I'm in for my gameplay. I need to smooth everything.
edges. Yeah.
My edges are pretty rough right now.
I had someone message me saying, like someone asked me about your coaching. I said, yeah, like Nathan's a good coach. And then, but he said, but I beat him in Soloq. I said, well, he's a better coach than he is a player. And it's interesting because like you're like, I don't know how to articulate it, but it's like a big tangent, but you know what you got to do.
That's right.
Like your decision making is really good most of the time, but your execution of the plays is off.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's like smoothing. Like it's like you got the right idea, you know exactly what you got to do, but it's just like that one little detail that prevents you from executing. You know what I mean?
Especially the champs that I play as well.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like a lot of people in Soloq hate me because my games will look very coin flip compared to some other players.
You will go for the play that is correct, even if it's hard to execute.
That's right. Yeah. Because I play Elise and Rek'Sai. If these champs get behind, I'm versing a Diana or a Talon or something. The game's over. The game's over. And really I am technically the blame of the game. It's true.
But you got to play like that. To play those champs. You can't play like a bitch.
So it's very easy to construe.
Yeah.
That I'm just bad at the game.
When it's easy to, if someone could beat you in a really like the way I frame it is that you're playing to win. Right? They're playing not to lose. So if you kind of mess up and then you could just give them the win, but they didn't really earn the win. Like you kind of gave it to them. So it's like, it's really easy to beat someone like that.
That's right.
But that only works up until a point. Like that person will get capped out inevitably around low master. And then whereas someone who's really refined their ability to win a game, they can, the sky's a limit, there's no cap. because they know how to kill a Nexus.
I mean, I had a game where I was versing, why not Kiana? Perfectly decision-making, invade his blue buff. He was on the blue buff. I had a Thresh. They had like a Janna or something like that, And then, he's on the blue buff and I flash over the blue and then miss the cocoon and then we all die. And the game's literally over 100% there, right? Especially against someone like that. You know what I mean? So, but I would look like a bronze player in that situation, wouldn't I?
Yeah, but if you hit it, you look like a beast.
Yeah, that's right.
You kill their jungler, it's like...
Take their blue and then I just track and then I just match him the rest of the game.
It's game, yeah. Yeah, it's just one little thing. And
that's where I'm at with my gameplay at the moment. I just need to keep chipping away. If I show on the map once, if I fail a gank, like the way that I play the game... And that's sort of what I'm doing as well. Like, I was talking to Charlie yesterday. He's like, because like champs like Dyna and stuff, they're picking up, like, and they're, stable, scale up. It's like, why are you not playing this champ? He's like, I'm just making the journey fucking hard for myself, but I would like to play that game that way. I just love it.
I feel like that's kind of is the game of League though at a jungle. Like, you kind of need to know to play that style.
I think so, yeah.
Like, to be a really good jungler,
to push the limits,
you can't
push the map.
Like, playing Dyna and scaling, like, sure, you'll probably get more elo right now, but you're gonna cap out again. I just feel like you can't. It's like, I view the mid lane perspective is like, you can't just play a scaling mid and like, you can play Vlad and Kassadin, but at some point, and play to minimize, but at some point you're gonna get exposed. I
mean, I got to read the map, dude. Like, if I miss one wave, if I misread one wave, I will lose the game. Like, I could also win the game. Like,
that's your mindset.
Imagine that's going to build over time. Like, just the reading of the map and
super sharp.
100%.
Because
you're just forced. It's like you're lifting heavy weights all the time, You're just building that strength.
So moving on, I want to talk about VOD reviewing. Very simple. Really actionable advice for VOD reviewing.
So how about we start with someone who never's VOD reviewed before?
Doesn't VOD review.
Because that's the standard League player.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
They need to learn how to VOD review because we had to learn how to VOD review our own games.
Okay.
What to look for, that sort of stuff.
We'll give you one. This is like the fundamental, this is the foundation of a good review. Or we'll use a specific example, okay? Let's say you're playing Rek'Sai Nathan. And you think that bot is like gankable for whatever reason. We'll get into the details in a second. And you decide to kind of, instead of continuing to like finish maybe like a camp or do your Krugs, you go bot. And you decide to like kind of go bot and go for that gank. And you go for that gank. And it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. So in the review, obviously you're gonna walk away from the game, think, "Fuck, that was pretty bad." Like that, like now I showed on the map, and the jungler knows where I am. Everyone knows where I am, and I'm behind in tempo, whatever it might be. Now in the review, you're gonna go to that moment because first of all, you got to register that it's a painful experience or a negative thing that happened in the game. And what I say to people is, you should go to a moment where you either felt confused or you knew it just felt wrong, or just like, it's from a feeling perspective, it felt wrong, it didn't feel right, or you felt confused of what to do in the moment. So go to that moment. Now, step number one, you look at what you did and you look at what the outcome was of your given, whatever that play was, that failed gank. What did my bot lane, did I burn a summoner? Did I chunk him? Did my bot lane need pressure? What did you get from that gank? And then what you need to do is you need to look at, okay, well, what would the alternatives be to this play? Like, okay, if I, what were the options? I mean, I could have full cleared, I could have invaded, I could have dove, I went to another lane, I could have just reset, went topside. Go through what the alternative would be in your mind really quickly.
And then just play out the game and then see what happens if you did that.
Play it out. Yeah, play it out. And then you'll be able to determine which one is best and why. And then you don't stop there. Then you go, well, what would be the variables or the signs in the game that would allow me to make that decision?
So that's how I read like waves better. So let's say my bot lane, the waves at their like my team's tower, right? At the moment, the enemy waves at the tower.
Okay.
And then like I would be chilling topside, and then the next wave's coming, and then suddenly they're pushed up and it's pushing back to their tower, and then they get ganked and died. So then the way that I learnt was like, okay, I need to identify when the next wave's coming, when the wave's bouncing back, and I need to be there on time.
On the bounce.
On the bounce. Okay? And then because what kept happening on the reviews is they kept on dying before it crashes and the wave freezes and then my bot lane's fucked.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That was what kept happening. That's how I learnt, just by looking. It's like, oh, that's the sign that I'm looking for. And then
you
I
need
can
to be
replicate
there.
That. Yeah. Otherwise, they're dead.
Yeah, so the key is the visualization of the alternatives and deeming which one you think is best. Now, look, you might be confused and you might not even know what is the best alternative, right? But have a crack, but it's the process of going through that visualization, thinking about what the alternatives might be. And then also you got to identify what the signs are in the game that would allow you to make that given decision. So if you deemed that full clearing was better, well, what was it that would tell you in the game that you shouldn't have ganked? Was it because they're...
Full resources.
The full resources, the wave's not good, your bot lane has no gank set up.
Enemy junglers around.
You think that, the enemy jungler's path there. Like, what is the sign? There always is a piece of information in the game that will tell you that. And then over time, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to start to identify, well, I'm actually constantly not assessing this variable. And that could be a learning objective. I need to look at wave states. I need to track the enemy jungler. I need to look at the amount of gank setup that the lane has. I need to look at whatever it might be, how heavy trading they are. That is how you learn League of Legends. All about visualization. Running through the alternatives.
Another word I have for alternative is missed opportunities. A lot of what you'll find in your games, the missed opportunities, especially the high elo you go, the mistakes are the missed opportunities. It's not just the deaths.
Well, I would say from D2 on, I'd say like Master Tier Plus, it's not about mistakes, it's about missed opportunities.
When you start off reviewing, again, we always say this, deaths, there's a lot of information in a death. Break that one down. So that's like the first most obvious baseline mistake.
Yeah, it's a really good place to start. If you're confused.
Yeah.
Why am I dying? What are the trends in my deaths?
There's very few reviews, just to add a heads up, guys, where there's good death. There is good deaths in League of Legends, but I'd say 5% of my reviews, there is deaths that are like, this is a good death,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on?
Yep. Anything else about the VOD review process?
No, I think that's all good.
All right, let's do the foundation. What is 3 blocking? What's the purpose of it? And we can talk about, you mentioned 2 blocks before, because I get asked all the time what 3 blocks is still.
Yep, okay.
So let's just clarify that.
So 3 blocks is essentially...
3 block process.
3 block process is essentially a matter of playing 3 games. So rather than... Because what most people do is they just go on the computer, press play, queue up, and then just play until they feel like they can't play anymore or feel like they run out of time or whatever it is.
What was the question you asked to get to the 3 block process?
How can I play my best... how many games can I play my best League of Legends? Or like, how can I...
At a time.
Yeah. How many games can I playing my best League of Legends? How can I maintain... How many games can I play with max intensity?
While reducing tilt.
Well, what 3 blocks does, number one, it prevents loss streaks. It puts it's like those things in investing where it's like what do they call it? Like a stop something, where it's like when the stock drops at this certain thing, it will sell it automatically.
Yeah.
Right? So like it won't let it drop too far down. It's the same premise in League. You lose 3, you're only going to lose 3. You can't lose more than 3.
Yep. So at max, you could lose like 50 LP, right? Versus losing 100 LP potentially.
Yeah, because you can just tilt queue, right?
Yep.
And keep queuing until you lose 9 in a row.
Yep.
Another one, so another benefit is that because 3 blocks usually coincides with around a 2-hour period, I would say that most people with practice can focus to a very high level for 2 hours. With breaks in between, obviously, because it's 3 games. So I would say it's reasonable to assume that someone can do that and build up to that over time. So it allows you to play with max intensity, essentially. It also it adds structure to your day. Because you're like, okay, when I play, I know exactly how much I'm going to play and how long it's going to take. I'm going to go on, I'm going to play these 3 games.
Remove distractions. Because if you're just playing League all the time, you're like saying to someone, like, let's say if someone's going to come in your room, you say to your parents, your brothers, like, I'm just going to play League for this time, and they'll probably respect you for it. You've actually got structure.
It's like, I'm going to play this time, and that's it. This is my league time.
This is my league time.
Add structure.
And what that does, that forces you as well. That forces you to take it more seriously as well. Because if you like, I'm only playing these 3 games, you're like, I'm not going to wait. I don't want to waste this time just on YouTube playing low intensity. That's what I find it does as well.
Yeah, we've had people write in, right, saying 3 blocks was good for them because when they thought they could play all the time as much as they want, they disrespected the game a lot more.
Yeah.
And I would also say that the other thing, 2 blocks is completely fine. If you are short for time, or maybe you don't have you're tired from work, you do your blocks after work and you're really exhausted. 2 blocks are completely fine as well. I found that sometimes people even do 2 blocks. So they do a 2 block, take a break, do another 2 block. Or maybe they do 1 2 block a night. The premise is still the exact same. 4 blocks can work as well. If maybe you had like a really shitty 15-minute game where you had a troll and there's an AFK, it doesn't count. Like your intensity can still be high. Those do happen. So 4 blocks are completely fine as well. If you play on career or something like that, you can play more than that because the games are so fast and the queue times are instantaneous. So you can actually, we're still talking over 2 hours. You'd probably get 5 games in sometimes. So the premise still remains the same there. Is there anything else with 3 blocks? But the way it really does go is it goes, rough pregame, ritual, warm up into game, review, game, review, game, review.
And then break for 32 minutes to an hour.
I say at least an hour.
At least ideally. An hour. And ideally, that's great to get out of your chair, get out of your room, get that headset off. I talk about my wireless headset. I feel like I'm trapped in the online world. I open up my door and I just get some fresh oxygen. It helps a lot. There's a real world out there, guys. Yeah. It's not just the Summoner's Rift.
What I will say as well is I think that you're not going to have 100%. Like the first time you do 3 blocks, I've had a lot of people say I can only maintain intensity for they've never actually played high intensity before.
No, they don't know what it feels like.
They don't know what it feels like. So a lot of them say I'm exhausted after 2. They have to build up to 3 because it's weird to play intense League of Legends for a full 30-minute game using every lull state.
Have intention with every.
Most people say to me when I play intense League, I can't play more than 3. That's what they say to me. So play around, find what works for you. It's a solid little thing that's worked for a lot of people. That's our process.
Champ mastery, why it's important. Why is it important to get really good at one champion, and why is that the best way we believe to learn the game? 1 or 2 champions, 3 champions, a small pool, and focusing on champ mastery.
Okay. We need an analogy for this one, ideally. I have a lot in my arsenal, but I've just forgot them at the moment. But essentially think of it like this. Okay, I'm going to use a very simple analogy. Imagine you are learning to drive a car for the first time. And at the start, you first jump into the car. Let's say it's a manual as well. You're shitting yourself. You got to do the clutch. You got to change gears. You got to look at your rear view mirrors. You got to control the steering wheel. Make sure you're not slamming your brakes on. There's just so much happening around you. Your mental stack is overwhelmed. You can't think about everything.
You won't be able to check your mirrors all the time because you're focusing on other things.
Yeah, you're going to miss things, right? You're going to miss your surroundings. You're not going to be aware of what's happening around you. So over time, as you put more time in that car and you practice and you practice and you practice, what you'll find is that your mental stack, how many things that you can actually occupy in your mind will, because these things that were taking up, say, 30% of your mental stack now only take up 5%.
So they become muscle memory.
Become muscle memory over time, right? So now I can look at my rearview mirrors. I can have the bloody radio on now. I can do whatever I want. I can have my hand out the bloody window. I can do whatever. I can look behind me, have a conversation, eat some McDonald's, some Macca's.
Not recommended.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So, but that over time, you only get to that level of comfortability through putting in the hours of driving a car. Now, the exact same is the thing with champ mastery. When you play a champion, at the start, your mental stack is going to be overwhelmed because you're like, well, I don't know how to use my abilities. I don't know how much it costs, how much damage I do, how much damage I can take. How do I even kill a Nexus with this champion? When do I spike? How do I want to play fights? There's so much information embedded within how a champ wants to play a game that you need to really play a lot of the champ. So the more you play on a champion, I guess your mental stack will get freed up more and more and more to think about the game holistically. So we're not just then thinking about how to play your champ. You're thinking about how to play the game.
Think about how other people want to play their champ, how you play around with them in team fights, what they want to do with the wave. Reading the map is what I call it. Reading the map, that when you have champ mastery, especially as a jungler, you don't need to think about how to play fights.
About execution. Execution becomes second.
That's right.
It's just muscle memory.
And then it's just reading the map and then just executing.
Well, this is actually what I say. I talk about how gold and plat are more about knowing what your champion does really, really well. And as you start to get high plat diamond, now everyone knows how to play their champion, but now you got to start to think about what other champs in the game do.
That's right.
So like you combine your champ with what other champs want to do to create win conditions. So it's 1+1. Then you got to figure it out.
I asked you the other day, Curtis, Vex without ult, what's it like? So just adding this to my intellectual, Curtis said, what did you say to me?
Not a champ.
It's not a champ. So then in my next games, if Vex doesn't have ult before a dragon fight, that doesn't mean I don't have to take the dragon, but it's added into my computer, my information.
Another information.
Like, okay, Vex is pretty useless right now. We should probably wait for the ult.
Fight.
Yeah.
It's really hard, yeah.
And that's game changer. Imagine me knowing that about my mid laner.
Well, that's going to change your game plan.
That's going to change my game plan, which also helps them as well, because they know what you want, and that's what great League of Legends looks like.
Well, that's why also, by the way, good pro players like Faker, for example, they're not the best on any champion, but what makes them really good at the game is that they know what every champ does really well. Like they can be so creative in the game because they know what every champ does.
Because you can't say that. LeBlanc's famous, like...
Yeah, but none of his champs are really the best.
Okay.
Like Showmaker is I mean, Chovy is way better at LeBlanc. Showmaker's way better at LeBlanc.
I mean, back in the day, I'm talking about,
right.
I guess. I mean,
yeah, he was really good at, like... He was known for his LeBlanc. He's really good at... What was he good at? Faker. Zed.
Galio. His champ master on Galio. Can we play 5 games series?
His Rise was very good.
Yeah. So what are you talking about, Curtis? He's definitely very world-class, the best.
No, but he's not... But there's one trick's better than him at every one of his champs.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's not the best at any champ.
Yep.
But pro players don't need to be the best at any champ. Yeah. They need to be a master... Not a master, like a very, very high level of many, many champs. That's the sacrifice.
That's right. Because the meta changes all the time.
Yeah, that's correct.
But
that's why their game sense is so good, by the way.
Yeah. All right, I guess the last thing here I have is learning objectives.
Well, I think learning objectives, we've kind of covered that today. I mean, I think that the most actionable thing is go to a moment in the game. Trust I think a big thing, Nathan, is just feeling. Like listen to how you feel in a game. Feelings are a really good indicator of something's not right.
Yeah.
Like if you feel as though this felt wrong or felt uncomfortable, you felt confused, that's a moment to go to and then reverse engineer. Like go backwards from that moment to see what the hell happened up until that point. Like there's a fight and you're late to it. What the fuck happened? There's a dragon and you lost that fight. Why did you lose that fight? Was your positioning bad? There's always like something that happened before that moment that contributed to that play, or what you could have done. You could have done something better. And then ideally with learning objectives, you're seeing we said this at the very beginning, you're seeing a pattern or a trend. There's a recurring theme or a problem that needs to be addressed. That's where learning objectives come into play.
Learning objectives usually want to be fundamentals, or learning objectives are commonly set. Jungle tracking, quality of ganks, identifying what's a good gank, what's a bad gank. That's a major one for junglers and gold. And just starting with
the first 10 minutes.
Yep.
Like if you're unsure, I would start with the first 10 minutes and laser focus on the first 10 minutes.
That's right. That's the most important bit.
That's a lot. It's a good recap, Nathan.
Is that a good recap?
A lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff.
So hopefully everyone, that's great foundation for everyone for
bit of a refresher.
I mean, I have a lot of people that were talking. They've revisited the season 11 ranked guide a lot during the season just to get them back to focus. So you know, if you need to, if you're, it's very easy to get off track in League of Legends. You know, I mean, look at it easy for me. I know all this stuff when I went off track in the start of the season. In a day, right? But yeah, now I'm back to my process, back to the schedule, back to the gym, all that sort of stuff. And we'll see where we are, how we go for the season.
Yep. Excellent.
And get excited about it, guys. Like, you know, the most thing is you got to enjoy the game. You got to love the game.
Have fun.
You can't, if you're sitting there and everything's painful, the process, like, yeah, there is some discipline of the process that you have to build up, but you've got to love the game. Like, and the game's a great game.
Well, the fun comes from the satisfaction of knowing that you've put in the effort. The process is the fun bit. You know, it's playing beautiful League of Legends is fun. You know, that's what it's about. That feeling that you get after the game where you know you've put in 100% effort.
Yeah, you absolutely just did your job, dominated the opponent. You just...
Or you won a game that you know that a previous version of yourself
wouldn't win.
Always... Yes. I want to end this. I want to end this with one last thing. Tying back to the belief, you know, a common one is saying, Curtis, like, how do I get myself to believe if I've never been to that rank before? It's a common question, right? The advice that Daniel said in my MLE said he wanted to share this message. Think about a gold player that got to platinum for the first time, right? Say they got to platinum and now they're platinum and they're trying to get to diamond. When they first got to platinum, like that was really hard for them. Like to get to platinum for the first time, it's a really, really big achievement. Like they had to obviously put in the work, champ mastery, 3-block, whatever. You know, you never thought when they first did that gold, when you first, before you even started that process, you probably never would have even thought that you would get to platinum. But in a way, you've proven to yourself that you can do something that is really difficult. So when you're thinking from getting from platinum to diamond, or you just think back to what it was like to go from gold to platinum.
Yeah, it's equally as hard.
It's equally as hard. It's all relative.
Yeah.
You've done the same thing. So all you got to do is repeat that. It's like that's where the belief should come from. If you've done that in the past, if you're fortunate enough to have done that in the past to achieve some goal, it's just a matter of doing it the exact same. Doing it again. Doing it again. Cool. Does that make sense?
Great message. Thank you. Is it Daniel? Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of our ranked guide, everyone. No mailbag today. Write in your questions for mailbag for our next episode.
Yep.
About, questions you want from this episode. You have extra questions. Maybe we didn't cover everything. You want to know more about the 3-block process or dealing with tilt, all that sort of stuff. Yep. That's it.
And I'm not going to say good luck because people don't need luck.
There's no luck
There's no luck involved. Right? So have fun and then continue on.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.